I am Sam Seder on the phone. It's a pleasure to welcome to the program Amanda Marcotte, freelance journalist who writes for Pandagon and Slate's XX Factor, and also is a co-host of a podcast at RH Reality Check. What is RH Reality Check? Where I don't understand. Is there a website for that or what?
Yeah, RH Reality Check is a reproductive rights online magazine that I write for and I podcast for.
Great. And go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say we're the largest on the internet.
Oh, all right. Well, that's impressive. All right, I love it. Reality Check, realitycheck.com? No.
RHrealitycheck.org.
Okay. And I got to warn you right now, I have a horrible cold. So if I sound less than my sort of quick and charming self, it's because I'm very, very sick. I'm like literally sitting here in a pool of my own sweat.
Oof, I'm sorry.
Yeah. But that aside, maybe not the best way to start off an interview, Amanda, but, different strokes for different folks. This is just completely crazy. So let me just play the ad that Todd Akin now has come out with. We have really, it seems to me, just sort of gone through the looking glass, but the fact is probably different. So here's the ad.
I'm Todd Akin, and I approve this message. Rape is an evil act. I used the wrong words in the wrong way, and for that I apologize. As the father of 2 daughters, I want tough justice for predators. I have a compassionate heart for the victims of sexual assault, and I pray for them. The fact is, rape can lead to pregnancy. The truth is, rape has many victims. The mistake I made was in the words I said, not in the heart I hold. I ask for your forgiveness.
Now, Amanda, he's lying there, isn't he? When he says, the mistake is in the words that I said, and I used the wrong words in a wrong way. The fact of the matter is that there's nothing he said that he doesn't still believe in. He didn't misspeak. He just maybe was just slightly inarticulate. But he's expressing a belief system, isn't he?
Yeah, he used complete sentences, a number of complete sentences. I really don't think there's a way to say I accidentally used the wrong word to express the belief that if a rape is legitimate or he went on Huckabee's show and said forcible, that's the only those kinds of rapes will somehow never result in pregnancy. He's trying to minimize this, but I'm not seeing him actually back off and explain. He's just not really taking it back. He's just sort of pretending he never said it.
Right, and the fact is that when we look at the bill that he co-sponsored with Ryan, they want to slice up essentially the different types of rape. I guess. Honestly, I'm trying to sort of take this at face value without sort of a judgment at first, because I think what they're suggesting is even far worse than what he said, frankly. The idea being that there is statutory rape, where, I guess theoretically, a 17-year-old boy and is dating and has sex with a 15-year-old girl, and the age of consent is 16 in the state or something like that. That, I guess, presumably is not forcible rape. But it seems to me that what they are doing is basically saying that, if you have sex on your own accord, you're going to get punished with it by having the baby.
Yeah, I mean, that's the most generous reading of it. I think that, that they're trying to, get so-called statutory rapes out, though it is worth pointing out that a lot of the time a forcible rape is prosecuted as a statutory rape because it's easier to get a guilty verdict with that. So, I mean, that's part of the problem. But it's worth noting that the legal system doesn't really generally have a term for forcible rape. That's a really vague term. So putting forcible, redefining the Hyde Amendment so there's only exceptions for forcible rape would have created this situation where it's quite possible that any rape where the rapist didn't actually beat you down would not be covered.
Right, if you didn't fight back hard enough or something. But I mean, what, like, from I mean, try and get inside these creepy minds for a moment. Like, you know, what is there? There has to be some type of subtext to this. That is, you know, it seems to me, is this sort of like this does not. I mean, the idea that they're all on the same page and that they're all talking about forcible rape. It seems to me there's a subtext here that, in some way, by making these distinctions, it either takes them further towards their goal, or it sort of in some way manifests some other belief system.
Yeah, I wrote a piece at Salon where I kind of talked about there's a lot of different connections here. I think that it's what's driving Paul Ryan, what's driving Todd Akin, and what's driving a lot of the people that are interested in making these distinctions is that they sincerely believe that probably most rape accusations, most rape claims are women who are lying about what happened to them. I think a lot of them think women having sex is shameful. So in their mind, they believe that women frequently have consensual sex and then the next morning wake up and call the cops to sort of cover up the shame of having sex, which is a myth that's really widespread and falls apart if you think about it for a second. Because, you know, if you had some regrettable sex, like, I really doubt that the best thing for you would be to get involved in a long, drawn-out prosecution over it.
Right.
But I think that that's part of what's going on here is that they really, you know, we can't separate anti-abortion people and their ideas about women and abortion from a whole galaxy of ugly attitudes towards women.
Well, I guess that's what I'm getting at here is that, and then I think it's like it's very hard for maybe it's unfair for me to say normal people, but it's very hard for normal people to sort of understand that. I think that the idea that there's a distinction between rapes, or that the idea that that women would go through that process because of the intense shame that they have because of having sex, sounds so ludicrous to us, but that it really is a reflection of their worldview. Like, I mean, I think deep in his heart, Todd Akin really believes this stuff. Like, you know, if they've really been raped, they don't get pregnant. I really do think he believes it. I mean, I think he's that bat crap crazy that if they've really been raped, that they don't get pregnant because because you know, pheromones are set off and keep the egg from implanting, or whatever it is in their quackadoodle science, that he really believes this. And so this makes sense on some level if you have those notions that rape, when someone charges rape and they're pregnant, they're lying. Almost definitionally speaking, they're lying. They just feel guilty about having sex.
Yeah, I mean, what it is really that they use all these scientific sounding terms, but really what it is magic. You know, it's also important to remember that the anti-choice movement is fundamentally a religious movement. They're religious fundamentalists that believe that God performs miracles on a daily basis, that he answers prayers, that there's angels everywhere, that we live in a demon-haunted world. And that's where this is coming from. If a woman is so-called legitimately raped, they think, well, God will definitely intercede and not make her pregnant.
I see. Okay. So, and that's how you can tell. I mean, that's where this whole concept of like, if she floats, she's a witch type of thing, right? I mean, God will step in if there's a real rape, and so pregnancy is proof that it's not a real rape.
Yeah, and I mean, they know better than to say that in religious terms to reporters and journalists. So instead, they try to frame it in the pseudoscientific language that they think is more socially acceptable, and then they just end up sounding like morons. You know, it would probably sound more coherent if someone like Todd Akin just talked about God and Jesus, which is what's going on in the hamster wheel behind, you know, his mouth. Right.
And so how do you explain Mike Huckabee coming out in his sort of as part of Todd Akin's shame me tour, and so I can have redemption tomorrow tour. How do you reconcile Huckabee saying there's been some extraordinary people who are a product of rape?
Well, it's funny to me because it's like it's interesting because those beliefs sound like they're contradictions, but I think they just have this. They're not thinking in logical, straightforward ways. They're thinking in this sort of bundle of magical thinking and this sort of belief in God will grant blessings and that babies are always blessings. And I also think, there's this sort of general notion. How else to put this? I think they're also forgetting that they're kind of working under the notion that a lot of rape victims were, quote unquote, asking for it, So I think that's like a little bit of what's going on here is that these illegitimate rapes are maybe rapes, but she was wearing a short skirt, so she got pregnant. It's a very weird mishmash of beliefs, but it all comes from like one underlying coherent belief, which is that there's a God in heaven who's going to make sure that that it always works out the way it was supposed to. And I think that like even when they say different things that contradict each other, it always comes back to this notion that their God will make it right. If you were not going to get pregnant if you were really a victim, or if you did get pregnant, then you had it coming, or if you were really a victim and you got pregnant, it's going to still be good for you because you're going to love that baby. Or they have different ways of spinning this, but it always comes back to this notion that we certainly don't need legal abortion is the other thing that they always circle back to.
Right, despite the fact that they don't really sort of have a notion of how to deal with illegal abortions. I mean, there's, I think Digby posted the other day that sort of great video of somebody asking all these anti-choice people, okay, so abortion's illegal. What do you do with a woman if she has an abortion? What's the legal punishment? And they all basically said, well, we've got to pray for her. Well, like not even like nobody even says like a ticket. It's just like we've got to pray for her. I mean, it's really just more of a declaration that they want, right? And then of course you can also punish the doctors, I guess, but not the women.
Yeah, the so-called doctors. What's kind of lost in all that, it's funny because it's not like we don't know what happens when the abortion is banned. It used to be banned in this country.
Right.
We can just sort of look at what happened when it was banned and sort of get a general idea of what happened. And yeah, there were doctors who performed illegal abortions, and sometimes they did go to jail. But a good chunk of illegal abortions were women just using home remedies, and that's where the majority of abortion injuries and deaths come from, in fact. So the notion that we don't ever have to talk about what happens to the women, well, the women are the ones performing the abortions in a majority, or in a solid chunk anyway, of the cases when abortion is illegal.
Do you think, sort of like, turning to sort of this, sort of more, I guess, electorally, like I listened to that Huckabee interview. And Huckabee now, look, I don't listen to Huckabee on a regular basis. In fact, I never listen to Huckabee. And maybe I'm missing out. So I don't know if this is already a part of his lexicon, but he kept talking about forcible rape. And, I was aware that that Ryan and Akin sponsored this bill about forcible rape. When stuff like this happens, my first sense is like, okay, great. This is going to sort of like expose their greater agenda. But then I also have this concern of like, but now it sort of seems like forcible rape is now part of the lexicon. Like, like from a rational policy sense, I got into it with Twitter with somebody, I don't know who it was. And they sort of had this like, well, the forcible rape is the difference between consensual sex. Between statutory rape and blah blah blah. But there is no. The offensive thing is that from a policy standpoint, what difference does it make? And I think you've explained it, frankly, to me. Is just that which it's very hard to sort of accept. But if you get pregnant, you wanted the sex, so you weren't really raped. That's the way it works. That's the way God does it. God wouldn't make you pregnant unless you were, unless the kid was extraordinary and God had a reason to have them because we needed another gospel singer or whatever it was. And but are you concerned that like this idea of forcible rape now becomes part of the lexicon?
Oh, absolutely. Because, even though I haven't seen anybody say it out loud, I think the implicit notion is that forcible rape is somehow different than, or it's being held in contrast linguistically with other concepts like date rape or acquaintance rape, which are, again, the majority of rapes. Those rapes are forcible by any legitimate, understanding of what actually happens. But I think a lot of society doesn't understand that. We hear a term like acquaintance rape or date rape, and we somehow think it's a lesser rape or that it was less violent than, the guy jumping out of the bushes and raping a stranger. To make it worse, most men who attack women that they know subdue their victims without beating them because that's how you go to jail. So they know better than to do that. But, it doesn't mean that they didn't force them. They laid on top of them, or they threatened them, or they just basically implied that if they didn't go along with it, then the beating would come. And, those rapes are basically being rewritten by the term forcible rape into not being rapes, even though the woman was forced to have sex against her will, just as much as if she'd been hit,
And there's a reason why society calls it statutory rape. I mean, because the fact that there obviously is a force dynamic there. It seems to me definitionally they're just attacking the concept of rape. And I think we're just like literally months away from, who's that dude on NBC News, Williams, just be like, talking about so-and-so forcibly raped. That was the sort of the most sort of creepiest thing about hearing that Huckabee thing is that now all of a sudden he's adopted this lexicon of forcible rape. I find that tremendously disturbing. And I just don't think, I think from an electoral standpoint, this could have sort of short-term benefits for Democrats in the House and the Senate. But I think that they just seem to be continually pushing this notion, and because people try to address it in a rational, logic way, we're seeing these stories in the New York Times, it's actually there is some controversy as to whether or not people get pregnant during rape. These type of honestly, there's a piece in the New York Times where it's, let's hear from somebody from, Dr. Johnson, who also happens to be with the Christian, whatever. And he says there's a lower incidence of pregnancy. I mean, first of all, it seems to me impossible to measure by even if we were able to collect the best amount of data possible, it seems impossible to measure. But the idea that you would entertain that conversation, because what's the value of that conversation from a policy standpoint? None.
Yeah. Well, I definitely agree. I mean, there have been measurements. It's estimated about 5% of rapes end up in pregnancy. But of course, those measurements are taken by interviewing women who say they've been raped. And if you don't think that women's own accounting of their experiences is legitimate, if you don't think that women are the best authority on their lives, then there is no way to measure that. You can just call those women liars if you want to. And right. I think that's what they're exploiting, is this notion that women's word is always considered, iffy at best.
And the fact of the matter is we don't even know. Do we really even know how many women are subjected to who are raped in this country? I mean, I would imagine there's still a significant percentage of rapes that become unreported. I mean, it just seems to me that there's so many factors involved as the notion that that there is a statistical difference in someone's capacity to get pregnant from rape. It just seems to me to be unknowable. We can have, honestly, we can have a general notion, which seems to be generally at the same rate that that people get pregnant from consensual sex. I mean, so I don't know. I mean, it just, the idea that there is a concerted effort to debunk this theory is almost as damaging as espousing the theory.
That's a really good point. I hadn't even thought about it from that point of view.
Well, I'm glad I could.
Sorry.
I mean, it seems to me like we were talking about this yesterday in the office, and we were just like, this is ridiculous. I'm like, it doesn't matter. Like there's absolutely there's no way that we can really know this in any meaningful way that we can really know this, because there's so many factors as to why someone gets pregnant, just in the context of even consensual sex. It's just virtually impossible to know, and there's no value in knowing it. There's
no value.
The debate itself has no policy implications unless. And this is what I think, you've been very helpful and enlightening, unless you believe that God just doesn't make you pregnant if you've really been raped. And it's creepy. And we do not see, the New York Times is not going to write that. They're going to write the piece about, we have experts on both sides. And, they tend to weigh against what this guy said. But it's reasonable conversation. As opposed to, this guy thinks it's all magic.
It would be nice. And I mean, part of it, of course, is that we have this tendency to take people at their word. But I think that the problem is doing that with conservatives these days is that everything that they say is spoken through a layer of bad faith, misinformation, and lies. Like, how often do conservatives say what they actually think? How much of conservative talk is just trying to sort of spin what they mean in ways that sound a little less awful?
Right. I
think
that's the one thing I think that, Akin should be complimented for. He came right out and he said it. And, he lives in such a buzz of, what was it? I think Hayes called it a pessimistic closure or something like that. And epistemic, is that what it is? Forgive me.
Yeah, epistemic closure.
And this guy's just all of a sudden, it's like, you can get away with being in that bubble if you're a congressman, apparently, sitting on the science committee in the House. But apparently when you actually have to sort of I know that the guy apologized, the reporter, but I don't understand how you sit there and someone says that to you and just go on to the next question. That seems to me like, hey, this is a great time to do a follow-up on that.
Well, I will say, if I was that reporter, I would probably be like, how do I follow this up? Because there are 4 things that he said that are questionable at best.
Right. I mean, he just went down to his notebook and said, okay, and then went on to the next thing, what do you think about trade with Korea or whatever? I mean, I don't know what he asked him, but it was completely just yeah, no, of course, no, I get that. Yeah, it has to be legitimate rape before somebody gets pregnant. Okay, and next on the agenda is, I mean, I think it's just sort of in that context, the guy seems sweet enough. Why not? But it's stunning, and I appreciate your. I mean, I really do think the key that people have to take away from this is just that the entire way that we conceive of reality is different from these people because they're fundamentalists, and that the outcome is a function of God, and God always does right. And so, if someone gets pregnant. It's because God didn't give them a pass because they weren't truly raped.
Yes, that's exactly it.
Well,
that is exactly the logic there.
Amanda, I really appreciate it. Amanda Marcotte, Pandagon, Slate, XX, and rhrealitycheck.org. We'll put links to that up on our site at majority.fm. Thanks so much for joining us.